Now that is how you set the tone on opening day.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. Been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting the show for over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Check us out there if you have not already, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And you might want to purchase some tickets to an upcoming Giants game if the first game of the season was any indication for how things could go this year, in that the Giants, the torture was back. The torture was back a little bit. It wasn't looking so good entering the 9th inning, but the Giants drop a 4 spot in the 9th after getting overpowered really by several Reds pitchers, including starter Hunter Greene. We did talk coming into the series with Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, and then yesterday going into the opener, that it wasn't really the guy you want to see on opening day because he throws hard as it is, and there's always that extra adrenaline that comes with an opening day start. And Hunter Greene was more than as advertised, and he was dominant. I mean, he was regularly touching triple digits, throwing 101, 102, 100 just with consistency. And the Giants kind of couldn't touch Hunter Greene. But what they did is they did work his pitch count and got him out of there after 5 innings. And so what I thought was funny, I just have to say this right off the bat, is that Hunter Greene literally said after the game, quote, I honestly didn't have any of my stuff today. And then there are these like modern metrics like called Stuff Plus, which basically grades the quality of pitches for pitchers. And it's not talking about location. They do have like Command Plus. But anyway, both Greene's fastball and slider were like graded as the best pitches of any pitcher, the best fastball and the best slider. I know he wasn't locating his slider. Okay, I get it. But man, he was the fastball with a 117 Stuff Plus, best of any pitcher yesterday, and that's not factoring in results. It's not saying, okay, because the Giants swung and missed or whatever so many times, therefore it gives it a good grade. It's just talking about the characteristics of the pitch, velocity, spin rate, etc. But that's beside the point. We'll worry about the strikeouts later. The Giants struck out 17 times in this game, which is a lot. But what happened was the Giants mounted a historic rally in the 9th inning, and it all started with Jung Hoo Lee's second walk of the game. And this is a perfect example of what I've said about how offense comes from not making outs, because people say, oh, Jung Hoo Lee hitting third, I don't get it. Like, he doesn't have a lot of power. Well, he didn't make an out there. He walked, he got on base, and scored. He scored 2 runs, and both of those runs were critical. Giants won by 2. And, that walk, Adames struck out to start the inning, another strikeout. Willie Adames struck out 3 times, but Jung Hoo Lee worked a walk after falling behind 0-2. 0-2, and he fouled off 2 2-strike pitches in a full count, and then he basically only swung at pitches in the strike zone in that at-bat. He took 1 called strike the first pitch of the at-bat, and then he took balls and swung at strikes. And then Matt Chapman, little seeing eye single, was totally jammed. The pitch was very much in on him, and he hit a soft ground ball to the right side, only 72 miles an hour, but perfectly placed. and it was hit so slowly that it advanced Jung Hoo Lee to third. At this point, the Giants are only down a run. And so it doesn't look, though, like a great matchup when you've got Heliot Ramos coming up there, first and third, one out. And so right away, there's that situational at-bat that the Giants just did not do well in last year. And it just seems like year after year, it's kind of been a struggle for them, at least in the recent past. And right on right against a guy, these days, all relievers are tough and throwing hard. And, Ramos, though, earlier in the game had one of the biggest hits of the game, and we'll get into it. He homered off Hunter Greene, a righty. But still, this is where it's a little different. Like under Gabe Kapler or something, you probably would have seen a lefty off the bench to pinch hit for Heliot Ramos in that situation. And for possibly, you could argue, a good reason, because Ramos ended up striking out. And that 9 times out of 10 or more, you're going to lose the game at that point once that happens, because all you need is a fly ball. It's tough to get one in the air against a tough righty. The guy the Reds chose to use as their closer, their normal closer, is actually hurt right now. But anyway, Ramos strikes out looking. It was perfectly placed, but just yet another strikeout. So then up comes Patrick Bailey, who we highlighted prior to the game yesterday as him hitting up in the lineup a little bit. And I was mentioning I was a little surprised it was not Yastrzemski, who, by the way, was 2 for 4, also struck out twice. Everybody struck out at least once. But Bailey was 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts coming into this at-bat here. It's first and third. Giants are down a run. It's the 9th inning. It's opening day in Cincinnati. Like Jeff Carr of Locked On Reds said when we did a crossover, it's a vibe. It's a different atmosphere in Cincinnati on opening day. And so the Reds fans are on their feet. They're loud. They're anticipating a win. They're 1 out away. But Patrick Bailey gets ahead in the count 3-0. And I rewatched this from the Reds broadcast. I watched it live from the Giants broadcast, but later I like to, when the Giants do something like this, I like to rewatch it from the other team's broadcast perspective. And they were surprised that Bailey swung 3-0. I don't understand why you would be surprised at all that you would swing 3-0 in a situation like that. But anyway, he swings 3-0, fouls it off. But then he gets a pitch almost in the exact, like the same pitch in the same location, fastball away. And he lines it up the middle. Wasn't hit super hard, but again, well placed, 87.5 miles an hour. And just for the record, these guys are not intentionally placing the ball. They're just taking a swing and trying to hit it hard. They're not like, oh, let me just put it right there. If it was that easy, then, guys would have a lot more success at hitting. But just a clutch hit from Patrick Bailey to tie the game. They weren't down to their last strike, but they were certainly down to their last out there in the 9th, and it tied the game. It fired the boys up, and up comes Wilmer Flores. And man, do I want to just bask in this glory of this moment for Wilmer Flores, because so many people, it seems, at least based on all the off-season mailbags and just comments on Twitter that I've seen over the last year, people just gave up on this guy after his season in 2024 when he was injured. He was their best player in 2023, which is, I get it. Like, yeah, okay, you don't want Wilmer Flores to be your best player, but he was good offensively in 2023. And he's just been a good Giant and a good hitter like his whole time here, except for last year when he was injured and required knee surgery. And so he's evidently healthy now. And he also fell behind into a 2-strike count. And, like Jung Hoo Lee, who worked that walk. And so it was called strike and then foul ball. So it was 0-2. Then he took a ball up and in. And then he got a hanging sweeper. And he just blasted it 101.5 miles an hour into left. That's what Flores does so well. He pulls the ball for power. And it's a 3-run homer, folks. 3-run homer breaks the tie. 6-3 Giants. I'd like to say that was the final score, but Ryan Walker did give up kind of a fluky run. He hit a batter. I think they gave the guy credit for a stolen base, even though it should have been defensive indifference, taking second and then a single. So it scored a run, but final score 6-4 Giants. Opening day, huge. Come from behind, 4-run rally with 2 outs in the 9th. Like, what more can you ask for? Would you ask for less strikeouts, fewer strikeouts? Yeah, sure. Okay, but what a game. What a game. Baseball's hard. You're going to strike out sometimes. Hunter Greene was really good. We'll get into the rest of this and Heliot Ramos's huge homer in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Game Time. There's no better feeling than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the smell of the ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets even easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee. A guarantee. Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as game time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Giants' opening series at home is coming up, I can count on them to grab tickets that meet my needs. I recently, for the Tigers series, grabbed last-minute tickets, and Game Time had unbeatable prices, which meant more money for food and merch. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, here we go. We are going to get more into this dramatic Giants win. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, on Monday, we've got more baseball for you. It is the start. It's just one of 162, folks. One of 162. We've got 161 more of these to get into this season, and I just can't wait. And hey, still a chance for a perfect season. Of course, that's not actually going to happen, but that's the beauty of opening day and a win on opening day. It's like you get to just bask in the glory of it until you lose a game. So hopefully now, as Jeff Carr and I discussed on our crossover, the winner of game 1 is obviously likely to win the series because you just got to win one of the next 2. Whereas for the Reds to win the series, they have to win each of the next 2. So hopefully the Giants can get it done and pick up at least a series win, and we'll be breaking it down on Monday, weather permitting. Today seems like a day that they should be playing, but they're off, and Sunday looks a little sketchy, so we'll see. Anyway, I want to get into this other huge hit besides, that 9th-inning rally with Jung Hoo Lee and Matt Chapman and Patrick Bailey and Wilmer Flores. The other huge moment offensively was Heliot Ramos and what he was able to do against Hunter Greene, who, like I said, the guy literally said, I honestly didn't have any of my stuff today. And then, there's literally a metric called Stuff Plus, where he graded as the top pitcher in all of baseball who threw at least 50 pitches yesterday. So if that was not him having any of his stuff, and look, I get it. I watched the game. I didn't have my computer. Those of you who are like, put your computer away and your spreadsheets. I did not have a computer or a phone or anything. I just sat there and watched the game. And what did I see? I saw a guy pumping upper 90s to low 100s the whole time in Hunter Greene. And he mixed in a upper 80s breaking ball that was effective enough to get guys off the fastball. He threw the fastball 70% of the time when all was said and done. And I think he threw the slider 20% of the time, and I guess he threw some splits and curves as well, just a few mixed in, but the slider and the fastball graded as really, really good. And so command is different, but like if you're throwing it in the zone, it kind of doesn't matter when your stuff is that nasty. You can kind of throw it anywhere if it's that good, if it's in the strike zone, and it's going to be tough to hit. And that's what we saw. And like I said, he already throws hard, and he was throwing even harder because it's opening day, and adrenaline starts lead to velocity increases generally. Like Logan Webb hit 95 in the first inning. And we'll get into Webb a little bit later on. It wasn't his best start, but he kind of grinded and kept the Giants in the game. But Hunter Greene was a problem. But the Giants solved that problem by two things. Number one, they got his pitch count up. Number two, Heliot Ramos, one-man wrecking crew, because he threw up an 11-pitch at bat that resulted in a 2-run homer. And so those two things combined got Hunter Greene from going another inning, which shortened the bullpen for the Reds, which led to Jabot closing out the game. So, like, there's a ripple effect of all of this. And if you look, like, Hunter Greene, he didn't get that many swings and misses. What's kind of crazy is if you look at the like swinging strike rates and all that from yesterday, it wasn't like he was number one. So I think a lot of this was that Hunter Greene was just hitting edges with his fastball and his slider. Like, even though maybe they were setting up away and the slider would like hit the inside corner, he wasn't throwing it exactly where he wanted to, but he was throwing strikes. He threw a lot of strikes. He threw, I didn't even look at this before, but 84 pitches and 59 strikes. So 59 out of 84 is 70.2% strikes. And that'll do it. That'll do it. And so anyway, the fact that they were able to get him out of the game after 5 was huge because they got him out of there, and it created the need for 4 innings of coverage from the bullpen as opposed to 3. So they have to go 4 deep instead of 3 deep. So you got one extra reliever. Theoretically, they're using their best relievers in some combination, and so you get one extra one. It's a lesser pitcher at some point. And Reds fans surprised by Jabot being the decision for the 9th, but Heliot Ramos, let's get into him. And there's some comments here from Bob Melvin. There's also comments about Wilmer Flores, and basically that Bob Melvin is saying what I'm saying, which is that about last season it was about health, and that right now he is healthy. And I just want to share what Logan Webb said about Wilmer Flores. He said, in 2023, Wilmer was our best player by far. Last year, he was obviously in some pain and dealing with knee stuff and struggling a little bit. It's great to see him back to what he is. And so time will tell. It's one game. But still, that's what Wilmer Flores has done his whole Giants tenure outside of last year. And he's done it consistently. He's clutch. He's come up with huge homers. But, the Heliot Ramos at bat, 11 pitches, and it started out with a 1-2 count. Ramos behind with Jung Hoo Lee on first after walking. Again, a walk, just not making an out, being on base, generates offense. Like, I know the guy behind you has to do something too, but when they do, it's good that you're on base. And so that counts as generating offense. So Ramos fell behind 1-2 before taking 2 pitches to work the count full. That doesn't make any sense. That was written by Alex Pavlovich. Must have taken 3 pitches to work the count full. I'm dumb. Of course that makes sense. That would be 3-2. What am I talking about? And then Pavlovich says, then the fun started. Greene's 4-seamer was the best for any NL starter last year by some metrics. Hello. And he threw Ramos 7 straight, with 5 being fouled off in a row as the battle got to an 11th pitch. All were 98 or 99 miles an hour, and Ramos kept making contact. Ramos said this, quote, "In my mind, I'm like, damn, how am I not getting to the fastball? This is insane. He's throwing it right there. I feel on time. My body feels good. But I didn't get off my plan, obviously. I was just trying to stay compact and just put the ball in play." And so, yeah, if you look back at the at-bat, there was a pitch like that was right kind of middle up that he fouled off, and it's like that's the pitch to do damage on in theory. But he ended up hitting what Flores said was the toughest pitch of the at-bat. It was just like kind of dotted low and away. And Ramos didn't try to pull it. Somebody mentioned that if you try to pull that ball, you are probably going to roll it over and ground out. But Ramos went with it and hit a shot the other way that Ramos knew was a home run off the bat. So Bob Melvin said about that home run off of Hunter Greene, quote, "With the way Greene was throwing, it just felt like we were lucky to get a hit, let alone a run off of him. He was just throwing his fastball by everybody and slider just enough to get you off a 100-mile-an-hour fastball." As the Ramos at-bat went along, you're like, these at-bats usually end up pretty good for the hitter. When you're making him work like that, there's a little frustration that comes in too, for the pitcher, he means, having to throw that many pitches. And then also Bob Melvin, this time via Maria Guardado. That first quote was via Alex Pavlovich. And Guardado says that Melvin said, that was just as big as Flo's, like the Ramos at-bat and homer. That was just huge for us because not only did he hit a 2-run homer, he made him throw a bunch of pitches and took a little wind out of his sail too. And next thing you know, he's out of the game after 5. That at-bat was epic. And yeah, Melvin said he was not trying to pull him because of the velocity, and he finally got a ball he could handle. We've seen him hit the ball to right center field, so it was just staying with his approach the entire at-bat. And then Ramos said, "I feel like we never gave up. We struck out 17 times, but we never gave up. We have a pretty good team. We have a pretty good set of players. I think it's just going up from now. He's one of the best pitchers in the National League, Hunter Greene. Not everyone is like that, so they have to watch out for sure. He's just putting the league on notice." And he's right. I mean, not everyone is going to be featuring what Hunter Greene was featuring, which, like I said, was graded as the best stuff of any starter yesterday by certain metrics. Pat Burrell, Giants hitting coach. Is he their main hitting coach right now? They have 2. I don't know exactly if he's an assistant or whatever. But anyway, Pat Burrell said via Susan Slusser, "That's the best at-bat I've seen him have. Just an absolute dogfight, and that's what it takes to see him foul off pitch after pitch and just hang in there and continue the fight and then get rewarded. I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do here." Ramos mentioned the splash hit. Somebody asked him about it, and he said, "I'm not even going to lie. The splash hit gave me a lot of confidence last year, but I always knew I have that kind of power right there. I just needed to polish it." So the big takeaway is, Ramos did this against a right-handed pitcher because if you look at the splits, he was exceptionally good against lefties. Giants are going to face a lefty in Nick Lodolo on Saturday, and he's probably going to be leading off. He was very, very good if you look at the numbers against lefties, but they weren't as good. They're playable, but not nearly as good, a little below average overall against righties. So the fact that he did this against Hunter Greene, who was dominating the Giants and is one of the tougher right-handed pitchers in the game, and he was featuring the best stuff of any starter in the game yesterday by some metrics that are a little advanced, and some of you may scoff at them, but you might tell me to just watch the game. I did just watch the game, and this guy was overpowering. I mean, I know he wasn't commanding his secondary stuff, but it didn't really matter. He was just overpowering. He was featuring overwhelming stuff. But Ramos battled, and then got a pitch he could handle and deposited it into right on a dotted low and away fastball. I mean, come on. Impressive stuff right on right, and just a big swing for the Giants that made it 3-2 and kept them in the game. So they stayed in the fight. They kept it close. The bullpen kept it close, and it set them up for a chance in the 9th-inning. And they kicked open the door in the 9th. So coming up in just a minute, we'll wrap it up. We'll get into Logan Webb's start a little bit, the strikeouts, and how we shouldn't sweat it just yet. 17 Ks, but it's one game. But also, it's something to watch. We'll get into all of it in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Baseball season is now in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports, my personal favorite. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps the game exciting. Setting a lineup takes less than 60 seconds, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. I played all season long last year and ended up being pretty successful, if I do say so myself. I always take advantage of Taco Tuesday, where Prize Picks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. Download the app today, use promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, here we go. We're going to get into the kind of closing arguments here for this first game of the season. Talk about Logan Webb and his outing, the bullpen picking him up, and a little bit more about the right-on-right stuff with Heliot Ramos. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. Everydayers on Monday, breaking down 2 more games. Can the Giants win at least one? I think that they can. I think that they hopefully will. It'll be Justin Verlander going in the second game. Lefty on the mound for the Giants, so we'll see what that lineup looks like for the first time facing a lefty. They do have a lot of righties. They've got some righties on the bench, that some of which were a surprise, like Christian Koss and Casey Schmidt. Koss in particular, a surprise. I doubt they take out Chapman or Adames to put in Koss, but you could, I don't know, Wade could start at first, Flores at first, and then maybe give Adames maybe Adames a DH day and put Christian Koss at short, something like that, just to get guys off their feet, give guys some rest, and also get those righties in the lineup and have Wade available off the bench when inevitably there's a righty reliever in the game. It's a nice weapon to have. So anyway, Ramos, Alex Pavlovich went into some detail. He said that Ramos is trying to pick up the pace against right-handers. Entering the day, he hit righties at a 234 clip and left-handers 299. His 956 OPS against lefties is 300 points more than that against righties. Greene, one of the top starters in the league, is right-handed. So a 300-point difference in your OPS. 956 is bonkers. So subtracting 300, making it, I don't know if it's exact, but 656. It's not horrible, but it's also much worse than his numbers against lefties. And so Ramos spent the offseason trying to improve against righties. He said, I've been wanting to face righties. I've been wanting to make that a point for sure. He does not want to be a platoon player. And when you're a platoon player who's right-handed, that's the short side of the platoon. And so you don't want that. And they're not going to do that. They're going to give him these opportunities. And day one was a roaring success. I know that he later struck out in a key situation where a situational at bat was needed against a righty, so that's worth pointing out. But the home run, I mean, they don't win obviously without that home run against Hunter Greene, and that at bat was just super impressive given how well Greene was throwing. Logan Webb lastly said, well, actually there's Logan Webb and Pat Burrell and Buster Posey all going to chime in on Heliot Ramos here. Webb said he's electric. And he said he's known Ramos since they played at Double-A Richmond together in 2019. A home run to right field off a perennial Cy Young candidate in Hunter Greene. It was great to see the momentum change there. It might not look like it at that point, but that was a massive hit. And Burrell said, I hope he starts there and left, because, by the way, Ramos is the 19th consecutive different left fielder to start for the Giants on opening day, dating back to 2007 with Barry Bonds. And Burrell said, I hope he starts for the next 10 plus years. I hope Heliot plays his whole career here. He plays right, meaning he plays the game right. He plays hard. He plays with joy. And Buster Posey said, I'd love to see it for 10 years or more. So anyway, Buster Posey's birthday was yesterday too. So happy birthday, Buster. Big game to to win as your first day of president of baseball operations, and also the way that the Giants were able to win it for him in Cincinnati, a place that's very memorable for Posey, who hit his first major league home run there. He also obviously hit that grand slam in the NLDS there in 2012 off of Matt Latos, and boy, is that a memory. So Logan Webb was not at his best, but one of those kind of grindy starts where an ace-level pitcher who doesn't have his best stuff manages to give you a decent outing. He went 5 innings and allowed 3 runs. I mean, you'll take that. You won't take it every time because it's a 5.40 ERA, but the 3 walks to him, he said, were unacceptable. They ended up, the Giants only walking 4 in the game, so 3 from Webb in 5 innings, and then just 1 from the bullpen in 4 innings. But Randy Rodriguez, Eric Miller, and Tyler Rogers each put up zeros, and Ryan Walker, like I said, kind of a fluky run there by hitting a batter. They can't possibly have given that guy a stolen base. It should have been defensive indifference. I'm not seeing it showing up as a stolen base, so I'm not giving him a steal on that. There's no way. The Giants were up by 3 runs. That guy taking second is not a steal. And anyway, Logan Webb said, he struck out the first 2 batters he faced. He said something weird happened after those first 2. I was amped up. I thought I was a strikeout guy for 2 batters. He said he got a little too cute to Ellie De La Cruz, who he got ahead of 0-2 and then just threw nothing but balls. And then it was a walk. And then he walked Gavin Lux. Only 6 times. This is, I think, via Maria Guardado. Only 6 times in the last 2 seasons did Webb issue 2 walks in an inning. Only 6 times in 2 seasons did he issue 2 walks in an inning. So that's wild. And he did it, back-to-back hitters. It's just not what you want to do. And it set up a run-scoring hit by Jeimer Candelario. And anyway, Candelario, again, had like a seeing eye hit later in the game. Mike Yastrzemski made a nice defensive play on that first Candelario hit to keep it from getting past him on a diving attempt that short-hopped him. And the defense overall was crisp, and I was impressed in particular by Tyler Fitzgerald at second base. His first play was difficult, and overall, no errors in the game for either team. There was one play where Willie Adames, it was a difficult play. Ellie De La Cruz disrupted the play with his speed, but that's just what De La Cruz does, and I don't really blame Adames. But defense was crisp. Bullpen everybody just kept him in the game, even though it was a rough beginning with all the Ks. And I'm saying, don't worry about it because Greene's stuff is so good. And like Ramos said, not everybody is Hunter Greene. And so you're not going to strike out like 50% of the time all season, not even close. So cut that in half, and that'll be more like what they finish with. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen. Today, for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB season previews. Every contender, every division, everything you need to know. Find all 6 episodes of Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, I'm Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter or X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. Cannot wait to be with you again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy some baseball. Pray for some good weather. Thanks again for listening. You are now Locked On Giants.